Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who are with us each and every week. Thank you, Folgers. Thank you, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, who is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, and is responsible for our fabulous intro and outro. Tonight, we welcome for the first time Meredith Herrenbruck, and she's going to be discussing Family Soul Constellations, Huna healing, and if all that, we'll make our way through that, maybe a little bit of talk on some paranormal attachments and such. So we'll have to just wait and see how that all goes. So hopefully we'll be able to get everything in because it sounds very exciting. I read that woman's bio. It's just like, wow.
I know.
It's awesome. I know. So, hey, Zachman, Adriana, Melissa. Hello. Yeah. Wow, that's some enthusiasm right there.
I was trying to get the guy from the Muppets, but it just didn't come out that way.
What with the hello?
One of those flipping days. It's been a day. It's been a day.
Oh no, really? It doesn't sound too freaking promising. I don't know.
I just love hooking up electronics. I really do.
I like doing electronic hookups.
What's really sad is I'm really good at it. So when something doesn't work, I know the manufacturer screwed me.
Right.
So yeah, I had one of those days. But anyways.
Oh, that's not
the
fun.
big screen is on my table, ready so that I don't have to wear glasses in the future. But the webcam just doesn't work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. I don't know. I have to say, I've got my big giant Apple and it's just beautiful. It's always got beautiful image. Its cameras are great. Everything about it's great. Little plug over there for Apple.
Apple, like we're here. We love you. Everything we have is Apple. Yes.
Pretty much.
No, but getting I could use the camera from my laptop, but I drag the screen there and then all you'd see is this sideways. So I have to find a way to move the two. I might just not bother with a webcam and just figure out how to move the laptop higher over the screen. Because I'm loving the screen.
Experimenting is always
fun. Is huge. So I'm loving it.
Yes.
But
it's probably when you don't have to go and read what's what.
I know, but
after
having to bop back and forth from chat rooms yesterday, I'm in such a great appreciation for our chat room on the motherboard.
Here. Everything is all here, which is
we'll call
nice.
It the motherboard, right?
Yeah.
The motherboard. I am so grateful that they're all there because when we do a pre-record, it's like going back and forth and then you have to push play and move it back because there's a lag. And sometimes I'll give a comment, but if you're listening on Facebook, you haven't heard it yet, but YouTube already has.
It's true. It is really difficult. We have so many guests on the other side of the pond, and we love to accommodate everyone. So, it's the way it is, unfortunately.
Hi, Jamie.
Boo, but
and they're fantastic guests.
We're just getting ready. He really was.
Yeah.
He sent me a few goodies today too. They're just awesome. But we should get to the bio because I have just sent this off to Meredith.
Yes. Our guest tonight is an author of Becoming Ridiculously Awesome. Who doesn't want that? Meredith Herrenbruck is an experienced NLP coach a certified master practitioner from NLP Marin, initiated into Huna by Kahuna Mark Saito in Hawaii, where she studied Huna under him for 3 years. So cute. We are looking forward to speaking with Meredith Herrenbruck today.
Anytime now, just waiting. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what this is all about. When her information was initially sent. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She had me on, on the whole Family Soul Constellation. To me sounds like really fascinating. So I'm like, you know what? I want to learn more about this. And it's really positive stuff. And I think right now, world's a little crazy. We can definitely stand for some of that. There we go.
It was an understatement.
Here she is.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing well. It's Thursday. It's almost Friday. It's exceptional. So,
yes, we like that.
It's Friday Eve.
We do, but we love doing our shows because then we get to hang out with fine people such as yourself. So
thank you.
You're welcome. So welcome, here to the Outer Realm. This is your first round with us. It's going to be very laid back, lots of fun, and just feel free to take it whatever direction that you want. We'll keep up. And you have a lot of people listening, so it's very important to us that you get whatever you need out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good. So
and they can ask questions as well, right?
Because I love right here in the chat. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Can you see them on the side? We read them out, but I'm just curious if you don't have to. You don't have to squint in or scooch in to see it.
Kind of
don't
like
worry.
This. Hello.
Yeah.
We'll put them up for you so that way you can see them and take your time with them. Hello. There we go. Right there. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie.
Hello.
Yeah. So where we'd like to basically start our humble beginnings and what brought you to this point of your journey?
Well, so it started with really more of, I guess, the more interesting aspect of my beginnings is premonitions. And I had premonitions ever since I was little. And, they'd be for small little things, but it seems like kind of time repeated itself. And as I grew up, I had questions on how it was possible, what was going on. Like, it's just like all the questions on, well, then how does time exist? Then am I perceiving it? Am I connected to everything? If I am, how am I connected? So the premonitions really brought me into really questioning how everything worked. And so that really brought me into, I guess, really more my favorite aspect of what I do, which is more the energetic work, the family constellation work, because it's so transformative and so profoundly healing in a very quick way. And it's not something that you can take a pill for. And so it's just really beautiful work. And it's mind-blowing every single time I work with a client. So that's where I started, was having premonitions. And then I also had trauma when I was little, which might have led to me having premonitions of just being extrasensory, trying to kind of get ahead of things. And so the trauma brought me into how do I heal myself and so forth. So that was a very long journey into finally in my late 20s kind of going, this is not working. Therapy is not working. I'm spinning my wheels. I'm telling my story, but God, I'm tired of my story.
And like, I want a new story, dang it.
Right? I'm tired of the tissue boxes and
I understand that.
Just not happening. And so then a friend of mine and I were talking, and he was asking me these questions. We were just talking about, I don't know, guy stuff. And I was having these boy troubles, and he was asking me these questions that literally after 15 minutes, I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "What?" And trying to be he likes to be really subtle about it. He's one of my best friends. And I said, I have gotten further in 15 minutes than I've gotten a year in therapy. So let's cut the crap. What are we doing? And it was, and so then literally I signed up for NLP, I think 2 days later. So that was really where I'm like, okay, I'm going to head into this world because it's honest, beautiful, energetic work as well. And I just said, give it to me all. I want it all. And I want to know absolutely everything I can, because it was just, I needed it for myself. And then as I was processing, I'm going, how does not everybody know about this and use this on a daily basis?
Oh, really? That sounds
Yes.
exciting. So why don't you tell us like what exactly is NLP? And then we'll get to everything else, because I know we're all sitting here going, what is this? It sounds magical, but what is it exactly?
I in the streets too.
Yes.
She's amazing. I've been watching her all day on YouTube. What is NLP? Yeah.
What is it? Okay, so I'm going to explain it to you. So NLP is short for neuro-linguistic programming.
Wow.
It was developed in the 60s by two gentlemen who were in Santa Cruz. And UC Santa Cruz, and I think one was a psychiatrist and one was student of psychology. They grouped together and they just brainstormed on what are we trying to do? Where are we trying to take the client? How do we actually heal people? And what they devised was a series of questions that brings you to the root cause of the structure that you've created in your world to keep you safe, loved, and alive.
Ooh.
Meaning, so how it starts is we say, well, what would you like? And it seems very, well, hey, I'd like to have a car and I'd like to have this. And we go, great. But what is there something that you would like that you can control within yourself? All the work is internal. We can't fix the president. We can't fix Europe. We can't fix Antarctica. We can't fix anything outside of ourselves. We can't fix our parents, even though we still kind of secretly want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still
my
secretly
parents
want
are great.
to, or not so secretly.
Yeah.
But it has to be internal work.
Right.
And so what it does is it works on how do you create, let's create an idea on what we'd like to experience tomorrow or in a year or next week. And then we go, great, all right, and we flush it out. And then we go, well, and we ask questions on how are you not having it now? Or how are you not able to even start creating the path towards the experience? Like why aren't you, getting on the platform to get on the train? What's happening? And so the questions help the client and the facilitator to understand the origins of how we are sabotaging ourselves, and it's all basically, we go back to our childhood and figure out what were the best possible solutions you created for yourself in whatever trauma or small situation, even if it's, hey, your parents, maybe you had a messy room and your parents are like, they are on you to be clean and they give you judgments and all these things. And you may have to make a choice of, okay, I don't want to be in trouble. I want them to like me and love me. And so I'm going to make not just a choice to clean up my room, but I'm going to make beliefs out of this whole situation. And so the whole ball of wax that we create in our minds and in our behaviors gets filed away if it works well enough. And we bring it out every single time it works again. And we keep using it ad nauseum until we get a system update or we go, wow, my life isn't working anymore. I've got to make change. But the thing is, we often focus on changing behaviors, but that's not where the change lives.
Oh, really?
The change lives in our paradigms, in our belief systems, and it's really enmeshed and entwined in lots of different places. Because what if you say, well, maybe your parents were really really, really organized. And you just, I don't know, it didn't really matter, but you had to somehow, to get along, be really organized. And so if you go to a friend's house as an adult and they're unorganized, your brain is going to get triggered of like, this is not safe. I don't know if I can hang out with this person, right? Because it goes back to, my parents are going to be angry. I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to be loved. And it's the belief systems that create the structure on which we behave. So don't look at the behavior, look at all the feelings and the thoughts and the judgments and all the things that we're hearing, that we're carrying with us in the present moment from the past.
Wow, that's a hard pill. Yeah, it's very difficult for some people to separate that. And I mean, you know, when you think, even as parents and having a child that you need to work with, I had a cousin who was a child psychologist, and he recommended this. Like, my daughter's high strung. It's like, I'm the freaking boss in this house. And she's like 5. It's like, oh, okay. And he recommended this book and this other psychiatrist or psychologist within our area in Southern Ontario to go to. And I found, it's not that the method didn't work, but it was, to me, you're almost, you know, they're saying you have to isolate your child. You have to not cave into the crying and not cave into what they want. And I'm in the other room bawling, going, I can't do this. I mean, where was somebody like you when we're going through this? Because I think about it even today, and it's horrific for both yourself, the parent, and the child.
It's traumatic for everybody. I mean, anytime my children cry, I have 2 kids. One is, they're both girls, 4 and 7. And when they were younger, any crying at all, literally my heart would hurt. And my husband's like, hey, what's the problem? It's okay, you know, but it was physically painful for me when they were in pain. So to become objective and put on my, you know, NLP hat and go, hey, you're in trauma, let's talk about it. It's like, so that in itself was a very big learning experience. Like, I can manage more adult conversation, you know, but when someone is in absolute trauma, you can't logic your way out of it. You have to be present with it, and you have to go, you know. And the positive parenting, as a side note, is great stuff these days, because it allows space for the child to be in that trauma, because they're going to get out of it. They're not going to cry for 5 hours. And then once, you know, and their brains will shift.
Sorry, I'm trying to release all these things.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, I know. I keep trying to block them. We're being spammed to death. Popular show. Everybody just tries to nail you a million times at a time. But apparently they're gone off of, but they're not on the stream. So sorry about that. Anybody or anybody interested in online strips? Yeah, there we go. All kinds of them. So, but I can't hear you. Amelia, I can't hear you.
Jesus, I forgot. I paused for the water.
Like, what are you trying to say?
I know, right? It's like I'm underwater. Sorry, I keep forgetting it's a new mic. I keep forgetting that you just mute it, and I'm looking like, what do you mean you can't hear me? I'm not on mute. No, there's 3 on my side. Those bots, they're having a party right now.
Right.
Are they cleared on your side? On my side, there's 3.
There's here, but they're all removed. Like, you block them out, and it just shows that they're gone. So,
mine, no, they're advertised.
Well, they're not on here. You have to almost go into the regular YouTube to see. They should be gone in YouTube itself.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to see them there. They're not removing. Okay. Sorry, but we do have a comment that before we get too far ahead. Amelia, do you want to get that?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Wayne. Wayne says, that was totally me. I equated how much I did for my parents to how much they loved me. So when I didn't do what became expected of me, they were disappointed with me, which equated to not loving me. Oh,
I know.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
No, it is. It's very, very sad. I think you're dealing with professionals who add to the problem. You know, so like, I've got, like, you know, you have your children who are in their 30s now going, wow, I remember that. And I'm like, me too. It's terrible. but you can't undo it, right? So, but you're saying is even as adults, can they come and have that removed?
Absolutely. You can do it if you're 90 years old. And the
Wow.
thing is, what's so cool about NLP is we flush out our future desired state. We go, okay, what would you like? And what would having that do for you? And we figure out what really they're wanting to experience and feel. And we have them fully step into that experience. And sometimes, you know, they'll just go, I want it, but. And that's
Right.
and we go, well, but what's the but? That's why we're here.
Right.
And what are all the objections? And a lot of the times it's, well, I didn't feel safe and loved when I was little. And or if I change, would I still be me? Would I be worse? Would I be better? Would people still like me? You know, so the fear of changing ourselves can rock the boat in our family systems or societal systems that we have in place. Because when we shift, it can challenge the way they're acting and the way they're feeling in their paradigms. So it's so we have to kind of move slowly. But the good thing is that shift only happens if you want it to. And so we uncover the past and the whole structure, and then we go, all right, and we acknowledge, and we build beautiful rapport with that experience, and we help lose the judgments, because the judgments don't help anybody. You know, if we're always in the fear state and feeling badly about ourselves, it's like we often are judging ourselves more harshly. So then our parents, so then the energy from our parents doesn't feel so bad. And I used to do that like crazy. I would be so hard on myself because that was easier to stomach than feeling, you know, the judgment from my parents. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so when we uncover the past, then we start to offer new new belief systems and so forth. And we go, well, do you have to believe that? Like, you were 5. Do we have to believe that anymore? And often people don't even understand, or even didn't previously understand or know what they were believing about that situation, or what they were hearing. Like, often, you know, it's definitely a neurological thing. If people are looking back and forth as they're talking, that means they're hearing something. And so if they're hearing something over on the left side, it's they're hearing something in the past, and often it's a parent, you know. And we go, okay, so what are you listening to here? What are you always checking for when we're talking about this subject? So what are you hearing? What did they say? So what we do is we uncover everything. We look at the structure, and then we make a new offer. And then once we make new offers, and the brain goes, wait a minute, I can have that now. I can put that down. I don't have to feel this way. Then what happens is, neurologically, you're kind of shifting the tracks from the old, really ingrained path into the new one. And so then as the new one starts being reinforced, the old one doesn't need to be there anymore. And the brain just kind of dissolves it and makes, you know, uses all of that for other things. So you don't have to manage the PTSD. You don't have to manage or try and shift your behavior or muscle it. It's exhausting. So why be exhausted all the time? There's enough other things to do.
There should be a
honestly.
course on this for parents.
For parent.
I'm going to work on that. I've got a long list of things to do, but that is definitely one thing I want to
I
get
hope
into.
so, because I was just going to ask, I had a parent who constantly made me feel guilty, but then I had one who was so supportive.
Yeah.
So of course, I favored my dad over my mom, because my mom scared me. But as it took until my 20s to actually, what I call, fall in love with her again. You know, and then I lost her. She passed when I was 27. So I had 4 good years with her that I'm grateful, because some people don't have that at all. And I had a greater understanding of why she was the way she was, because it's a chain that needed to be broken. And I'm proud to say I broke that with my daughter.
Good for you.
Definitely did. I had to. There was no way I was going to allow that to happen again.
There has to be some kind of a guideline. Like, I love this approach. I think the closest thing they have now is parenting. It's called respectful parenting.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very, very similar, because I know I'll watch my daughter-in-law do it with the little one who completely rules the house. And basically she's like, I know, sweetheart, but this is this and this. And he's just like, ah. I'm just like, I don't know if that approach is really going to work right now, because he is clearly in charge. But it's just, the balance, right?
Yeah.
It is a balance.
He'll get it. He'll get it.
Or she will, one of the two.
Yeah. I like the respectful parenting kind of thing.
Too.
And I was a person who didn't use the word no. I used a different way of saying no without using the words
or anything like that. No.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
So Wayne has another comment.
Yes, Wayne, I found that if I could put myself down harder and better than anyone else could, I essentially disarmed them. But I also did extreme damage to myself at the same time. It was a lose-lose. Wayne, you're making me cry.
I know. I think we should just hook up with Meredith.
Yes. No, it's because we're friends. Like, my heart is really breaking for him because he's a friend.
Wow. It's tough, the damage that gets done without people aren't aware of it. I understand older generations, we evolve, times change. How long has this been an actual thing, NLP? Is this fairly new? Is this like ancient? It's
from the 1960s.
Okay, so it's not brand new.
It's not, and but it is
I'm
getting
from the
out
1960s.
there more.
I like to think I'm brand new. Sorry, I had to lighten
it up. Me too, actually. Yeah.
It's easy now.
So it is fairly new, and anyone who practices NLP, there are different teachers out there, and some teach a little, some teach a little bit more for the sales aspects of it. Some people do it, to heal themselves, and and then they go on to have clients on their own. Where I studied, I think, is the most complete in building rapport with yourself, and building rapport with your clients. Because if you can't go there with your clients to whatever depths of darkness and despair, if you can't go there and you want to make them feel better because you're uncomfortable with where they're taking you, then you're the one being triggered, and you cannot help them as completely. When you have someone who says, or who is in this space of divine witnessing and being completely present with you and just holding space for you as you experience, whatever we're talking about. And if the trauma is too much, which often it is, then there are ways that we dial it down. We'll say, all right, I want you to imagine a big, thick piece of ice that's 5 miles tall and 5 miles wide and 3 inches thick, and it's kind of blurry. And I want you to make the image black and white. And if it's too close for you, and you'll see it in their face, and they're squinching, and and they're tense, and you go, okay, let's dial it back. Or let's push that picture really, really, really far away so you can just get enough of a hint of it. So then you can just step into it for a moment and then come back out already feeling better and already knowing you're safe. And then tell me what you were experiencing in the past. And I've already done 3 things that you probably weren't aware of, is that you are already safe. So you're imagining, when I'm using the word already, your brain is looking for what I am, right? And saying you're already safe, right? We want to feel safe. And so you embed certain things to help them calm their breathing, feel safe in this space, because we are talking about memories. These are things that happened in the past, but we're experiencing them now. And so NLP, where I was trained, was really focused on how to do these things in a very beautiful, very gentle way to allow someone to be able to go there. And if I can't go there, then they can't either. And I can only help them so much. But
Right.
I've been through my own stuff. I've done all the deep, dark work. You can take me absolutely anywhere and I will not be shocked. I will
Wow.
not be scared. I will not be worried because I know I can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like I said, I think that's fantastic. I think you should do a manual for parents, write a book, just basically with those kind of guidelines, because it doesn't come, being a parent doesn't come with a manual. And some people will say, well, you shouldn't need a manual. Yes, you should.
Yes, you should. You do. And I need that manual too. You know,
what is
every
that
day you're
kind of
learning.
nonsense? I know. Yes, you freaking do. So I think that would be a really great way to start. So you also talk about Huna healing, and I imagine all of this. We'll save the soul constellation for last, because it just sounds like it's going to be like very in depth and amazing. Also, so Huna healing. So if you can bring us into that now, and how does it connect with everything else that we've just talked about?
So Huna healing is from Hawaii, and they are taught by Kahuna over there. And Kahunas are the healers of the island, and there are different kinds of Kahuna. There's maybe a Kahuna of war, or more in the past, but there's maybe a Kahuna of war who would help build up everybody and help them focus and be stronger and braver and all these things, even beyond that. And then there are the healing Kahuna, where they would work with people for their conditions. For example, if someone broke their leg, they wouldn't say, "How did you break your leg?" They go, "Why did you break your leg?"
Oh, right. Okay.
The difference is they know that you have your part to play in creating your experience.
Right.
As does NLP.
Right.
You are playing your part in creating your experience. The world is not chaos. A victim feels that the world is in chaos, but once you learn to master certain levels and you learn synchronicities and you go, wait a minute, that was just too cool. Like, what, I talked about this yesterday and now I'm seeing this today. What the heck is going on?
Right.
Because you're aligned with that vibration.
Right.
Right? There's no chaos. So Huna works with people with that paradigm understanding. And so they go, how did you break your leg? What was going on for you? And so we also kind of with NLP and Huna, we ask kind of non-leading questions. So we don't say, well, did this happen to you? And so forth. It's like, no, what was going on for you? And so then you uncover the emotions, the paradigms, the belief systems, again, just slightly differently than NLP. And then Huna also works with ghosts, entities, clearing energies, curses, hexes, all sorts of things in that realm. And it is absolutely fascinating. I'm constantly surprised at what is uncovered with each client. The world is so fascinating that a lot of people don't even know about yet. And it's just fun.
Absolutely.
So if you want me to tell ghost stories or anything on property clearings, I'd be happy to do that. But that's the basis of Huna is getting into how do we heal the person, and what is in their consciousness? Where is it being held? Is it in their body?
It's almost like it's almost like you're trying to avoid, like you're setting the stage. So having to go through the whole NLP stage doesn't even have to happen. If you catch it early enough when they're having that experience as a child or an adult, you may never have to go in, they may never suppress it. You're teaching them almost how to deal with it before they ever, they wouldn't need you if you were able to address it early enough. I just want to get to this before we go too far.
Good point. It's good.
Hi, Wes Coleman. Hello, Wes. I think the biggest thing people may be reluctant to to do this is that they don't want to relive those memories. I think the person has to have the right mindset to heal. Yeah.
Yeah, true enough.
Everything
is about mindset.
Any change is mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. And you have to be ready. No one can force anyone to heal. But there might be a point where you start asking questions on, well, how long do I really want to have this around for?
Mm-hmm.
Or how much could my life be better? And, in after a session or two, or, and we
You're
always
unloading baggage, basically, right?
We're always working on a reward system.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't understand, well, I don't want this pain. I don't want this PTSD. Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, we set in those belief systems and those triggers to keep ourselves safe. It's just outdated.
Right.
Okay. And I want to remind, and I understand not wanting to relive the experiences, and which is why I went into detail of, we are very careful with dialing things down, making it fuzzy, making it smaller, making it like doing all these manipulations to the image or to the auditory or whatever is coming up. And there's even an example of tool we use where we're in a theater and we have the person kind of imagine walking down to the first row of the theater, and then we have the screen of the experience, but we can manipulate the curtains and it can be in black and white and fuzzy, and then if that's too much, then we say, great, then you're going to pop yourself out and you're going to be on the back row. And then you're going to pop yourself up into, or another version of you, in the photo booth. So then the person's looking at the photo booth, looking at the reel, looking at the person, looking at the back row, who's looking at the first person, who's looking at the screen. That is gray and fuzzy. So there are ways to manipulate it so we just get enough of a flavor, to just do enough change work to calm the system down so they know that they're already safe now.
Right.
And then when you just start to shift those train tracks, and it could be just small, and you give just a little bit of relief, and that person starts to calm their breath a little bit, and their cheeks start to warm up a little bit, then we go, okay, So there are ways to definitely just get a hint of it and then pop back out and then do the work in kind of current time, if you will.
Right. And then eventually they could just come forward and let it all go. So do you, or I guess you can, it basically goes with any kind of trauma. So, for 2 decades, I've worked in the field of the paranormal with attachments and things like that. And Amelia and I now work together with it on a bigger scale because it's easier with two.
Yes.
But I know just for dealing with people who have had traumatic experiences, being younger, even into adulthood, with things that have stayed with them all this time. And it's like there is no coping skill. There's that feeling of living like a hostage. There's always that feeling of being watched. There's like, you just can't shake something like that. It's like a PTSD of a whole other sort.
Yes.
So
but that can be turned off.
Right. That's what I was going for. Yeah.
Within a few sessions. And I'm not kidding.
Right.
A few sessions.
Right. So
if I could interject, I can cure a phobia in about half an hour.
Right.
I'm sorry?
I can cure a phobia in about half an hour.
Wow. Can we start with spiders?
Yeah, that was mine. That was my crazy phobia. And what happened was, the story was, I was phobic of spiders because my mom was phobic of spiders. And to not make my mom wrong, because we want to always keep our parents right, because if they're not right all the time, then, and if we're living in a horrible experience, then then our whole world would just, fall out and die. So we have to kind of make kind of a suspension of belief, and we have to make them right. So I made my mom right. She was freaking about this spider, and my dad's like, oh my gosh, and he's killing the spider. And I was apoplectic. And so when we were going through the phobia fix in class, I mean, I was having a hard time, but I'll tell you, in half an hour, it was turned off. And I don't love spiders. Yeah,
Right.
I will help you.
My mom didn't have a phobia. My mom would pick them up off the wall and bring them outside. I didn't have that mother who was afraid of spiders, although I've created that in my daughter. But the bizarre thing, tarantulas, I don't mind if I have to pick one up. It's on my bucket list. I look at them as little fur balls. Like, they're cute to me. Weird.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Because you know where it is. That's the thing. You don't know where the other ones are,
but
you know where the tarantula is.
And they don't jump, like they're just there, and it's like little furry puppies, and they just like sit in your hand, and they're very gentle, where brown recluse can kill you. That little thing can eat you till you die. I don't know. Like, it's just it's one of those things. It's really strange. I think it's perspective, right?
It is. And phobias are
sweating. Melissa's sweating just listening to us talk about spiders.
Melissa doesn't like spiders, I'm guessing.
I'm going to go to Niagara. They have it at Niagara Falls where you can pick up the tarantula. And it looks like a little puppy.
For me, they have too many legs to track. I can do insects. There are 6. The 8, I don't know.
The 8 are just too much. Yeah.
For me, in my system.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 is plenty.
You look at a puppy. So anything more than that's a little much. Yeah. So, okay, here we go. Another question.
Wes asks, are there any stats to show as to how successful this approach is, out of curiosity? And is it used for law enforcement or military personnel? I'll just give it away now. He's a corrections officer.
Right. So, good on him.
Fantastic. I am not aware of that being used in correctional facilities, though I wish they would be. And I would love, I have a bunch of friends who are in this line of work as well. And I would love to create a course, for correctional officers, building rapport to, another way to diffuse situations before they need to happen, to build that rapport. Because when you have 2 people doing this, it's because of ego, a whole host of things. And there's fear-based and I will not be on control. I will not be put down. And people, I think, in that, who are in prison, think about the levels of consciousness that are foremost in their experience. And if you have you guys ever read or heard of Power versus Force by David Hawkins? He is I think he has a PhD. So what he did was he mapped out levels of consciousness through what's called kinesiology, which is muscle testing. You guys know about kinesiology?
No, I don't.
Okay. So the kinesiology is basically like our body is a tuning fork. We are connected to everything. Okay. Under that paradigm, then our bodies can find the truth of anything. And that's what dowsing rods can do, is, you hold your little dowsing rods and, and you're like a little tuning fork. And kinesiology is another way to what's called muscle tests. And you can do it with your fingers and you can test for the truth of something. And whatever it is, it could be, I don't know, there are 5 million penguins on Antarctica.
Right.
Yes, no, and so forth. And you can attune to that. What he's done is mapped out the levels of consciousness from 0 to 1,000, where it's on a logarithmic scale of 10. So 0 is absolute apathy, and 1,000 is enlightenment, Christ, Buddha levels of consciousness, where that is the maximum level of consciousness that the body can sustain, because the energy is so high, then the body just can't really handle it.
Wow.
So given that 0 to 200 is apathy at the very bottom, and then you get into anger, self-righteous anger, a lot of ego, anger, I'm going to be better than you, you're not going to be better than me, and so forth and so on. And so when a lot of people who want to go into the line of work to help these people are above, but they're still kind of fighting back and forth. And so a way to combat this, if you will, is to not play the game, to be so high up that it doesn't trigger the anger, ego issues that they're dealing with,
Right.
and to try and build rapport. And so NLP, I think, would be fantastic for corrections officers and, well, anybody. I wish this would be a high school class, because everyone could do it.
Write a book,
Oh.
write a course,
Yeah, usually
write
people who
guidelines.
I do have one book.
Yes, there we go.
This is my
Yay,
book.
and I love the
bring it
just
back,
a little
just
back,
I
just
know.
back.
I'm gonna do
There
it
you
back.
go.
There you
are.
go.
I
There
love
you
it.
My
go.
book.
Becoming ridiculously
So
awesome.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. So tell us about the book.
So I wrote this a few years ago, and it started because our nephew was staying with us for a year, and he was having troubles of his own. And he's like, I gotta get out of my family's house, and can you help me? And so we did, and we taught him a lot of things. And he was in his early 20s, but there were a lot of things he didn't know. And so one of the things was he wanted to get into college. He was doing great work at community college, and he was doing engineering. And I said, well, if you want to go get a scholarship or funds, then you need to know what you're spending and what you need. So I said, we need to do a budget. And I gave him the format and everything. He never did it. And I said, fine, you need to come over here. We'll sit in front of my computer and we're going to fill it out. So 3 hours later, he's kind of freaking out, but it was great. I was actually happy for it because he finally understood how much he was spending and what he needed. So he could, you have to know what you need before you ask for help.
Right.
So then my husband says, you might want to just send her a little thank you note. That would be great. And so he sent a thank you note, and it was one line in cursive. And he's like, thank you so much for da-da-da-da, and his name. And we're like, that's so sweet. But I think maybe we could help him as well, learning how to write thank you notes.
Right.
So we helped him. I became Little Miss Emily Post. And I said, okay, here's what you do. Here's why it's important, etc. But you're going to do 3 a day for 2 weeks, and you cannot repeat people. So he did it. And then at the end of 2 weeks, we're having a glass of wine on the back porch. And we said, so how was it? And his face got really soft. And he says, the first few, easy, thanking my parents, thanking some school teachers, thanking some neighbors, but then it got harder. And then he had to really dig deep. And he had a lot of things to overcome. And so then he said the one most important thing, which started my book, was he goes, I didn't realize how many people loved me.
Aww.
And I started crying, just tearing up. And I'm like, that was not the lesson I was anticipating. And that is so much more. And that is exactly what this kid needed, and it blew my mind. And so I wrote a chapter on it. And then it ended up morphing into going into NLP and Family Constellations and Huna. And it's a journey of mine, but helping people work on their journeys at the very beginning steps with exercise at the end of each chapter. And at the beginning of each chapter, there's a different rune for you to be able to focus on if you ever meditate, for that to help you on your path as well.
So where you think you start is not necessarily where you end.
Exactly. Very, very true. And it could be even better.
Yes. It sounds like it. Wow, that's wonderful. So now, of course, I'm really curious about the Family Soul Constellation. So take us through that, because it just sounds totally amazing.
Yeah. I tell my friends it's better than TV.
Oh, all right.
It's better than TV, and I love a good Netflix. But the thing with Family Soul Constellations is that it helps you. Oh, we have an interloper.
Hello.
Thank you. Excuse me. Interloper.
We're all
Did I
parents.
always think I locked my door?
Miniature time traveler.
There we go.
Go see Papa.
That's adorable.
I know. So sorry. Go.
Oh, don't
need to
apologize. We have dogs that come in. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
Children that join in, and it's all fine.
Oh my goodness.
Like a little mini time traveler. I love it.
A little mini Meredith right there.
That was our youngest. So the thing with Family Soul Constellations is that unresolved energies, stuck emotions in the past, upstream, when they're unresolved, younger generations will grab onto it.
Oh, like genetic imprinting, ancestry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Got it.
Hold on one sec.
This is normal for
And
moms.
It's
We're all
true.
like
Don't
this.
worry about it. I know. I know.
So I'm going to open my window. It's getting a little warm in here. Goodness. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, no problem.
All right. So when there is pain upstream that's unresolved, for example, if there's a big loss of fortune, if there is emigration, that's an unhappy emigration, right? Forced emigration.
Right.
If you have childbirth issues or traumas, which are often, like you do not talk about, I mean, even until the 60s, like if you were pregnant, you don't talk about being pregnant. You don't talk about the women problems. You don't talk about the pains and the stresses and the worries and so forth. If there was someone who died too young, if there was someone who went to war, all those sorts of big things, or if, there's a big rift in the family and no one is talking to each other and it's just a fight that we don't talk about, then the younger generations will grab onto that in effort to say, I love you, in effort to fix it, but they only just make their own world a mess in the ways they do. Right. And what Constellations does is it offers a resolution to the stuck energy such that it can dissolve and such that everyone can stand in their own power and not be a victim and be fully present. And then that love and energy can flow through. But if everyone upstream is in absolute pain, then how can you have love and support in all the ways that we can have it? How can that go downstream? Right? And so the younger generations will feel further isolated and create pain to try and fix it, but we just make it worse. Right. So what we do is Family Constellations is we will talk with a client and figure out where the stuck energy is, and we'll kind of map it out kind of on a genealogical sort of thing. Right. And we map the parents and the siblings and who did what. And based on our experiences and patterns that we've learned and discovered, we go, all right, so then we put on the cards the roles of people who seemed the most pertinent to the stuck situation. We fold it up, we mix it all up, it's a double blind, and we either have representatives, people, friends, neighbors come in and they will grab one. They don't know the history. They don't know it. They haven't been part of the conversation. All they know is they have a folded card and they stick it in their back pocket. The client will move them around to the room where it feels right. It's all intuition. And then the representatives will kind of turn off their higher functioning brains and just start to download feelings, pictures, information, or maybe a phrase that they really want to say. And as everything gets uncovered, we find the stuck, energy. And then we go, all right, well, what do we do now to fix it, to heal it? And this is operating outside of space and time. You know, it's almost like a soul fragment, you know, where it's stuck out of space and time, but it's still, you know, relevant. It's still kind of going. And so when we offer a resolution, you know, maybe these two people are not talking to each other. We go, why don't you say I'm sorry? I don't want to say I'm sorry. But what if you did? And they'll, you know, and they'll hem and haw and be all mad. And then they go, I'm sorry. I did that. It was my fault. I acknowledge my part in that. Imagine if everyone just did that in real life and we go, I'm sorry, I was being a jerk. So we do that in this space, and then the room will shift, the energy will shift, and then all the pain, it just kind of filters through, and people move around, and then people start to feel better, and so forth. And once we finally get to a really good ending point where everyone's kind of in their rightful place and everyone's standing tall, and the client or the representative for the client is feeling really good and at peace and really solid, then we close it. Here's the kicker. When we offer a resolution in this or outside of space and time in this room, it makes a ripple effect in real time, such that people who are still alive might act differently. Right. They might feel differently. They might talk differently towards you. They might be softer and gentler, or acknowledge, well, we've never talked. Let's talk. Or chronic pains might go away, or addictions might go away.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's very, very interesting work.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, because if you do carry that angst or the stress, it can cause physical ailments. And of course, obviously, you know, addictions, if you're hurting inside, you're going to often lean to one form or another, right? Depression, anxiety, addictions, like a lot can come out of that. So you not only have these emotional disorders, you can actually have physical disorders.
You do. And I would bet, it's a total guesstimate, but I would bet at least a third of our negative experiences are based on family constellation issues.
Wow.
I recently had a constellation for a woman who's in her early 20s, always had issues with her older sister. There was always just the older sister trying to just be forceful with her and just not have a nice, gentle, sisterly friendship. There was always issues. And once I did the constellation, less than a week later, she texts me and she says, it has to be this constellation, because we hung out on Saturday night. It was the first time we were just sisters, laughing, having fun. There was nothing but fun. She goes, it was the best night of my life with my sister.
Wow.
It was awesome.
Do you think, because when you're dealing with, you know, a constellation, you think to yourself, when I think of it, I think, you know, ancestry, I think maybe even past lives. If you have angst, let's use the sisters, for example, you know, there's no real rhyme or reason why the older sister would just act out like that with her younger sister. You know, it could be something that stems way back.
It definitely could.
And
definitely.
That's
right? Why I have these three tools. Because, like, is it neurological? Is it childhood based? Is it family based? Or is it past life based?
Right.
Is it entity ghost based? We don't know, but I'll tell you, I use all these three tools with my clients, and I really prefer, and this is what I do, is I have 4 sessions with each client, because one session's just not enough. You're just scratching the surface. And I like to be complete with a healing, such that, you know, honestly, I don't want to take your money and just have you on the payroll for 5 years. I want you to feel better. I want you to have the life that you want. I want you to go and experience life as you see fit, and not have to manage the pain and try and take more pills, or, you know, or whatever. Like, and I've been through it. I've had plenty of years of my own pain and trauma. I don't want that for anybody. But 4 sessions really makes a huge shift for people. And I use all of them. And before the first session, or kind of the first session, I always clear someone. I always do a full clearing, because if you do not, that which is attached to you, they don't want the change. They were there because you're at that vibration. And so they will reject any change.
Right.
And such, you'll have wasted your time and money. And then you're like, well, what happened? It's because the entity has kicked out that learning, and you can't shift. So I clear them out gently but firmly, depending on what they're doing. And but most often it's family members who've died, maybe grandparents, and they just love you and they want to be around and make sure you're okay. But I go, well, this is not the best place for you. You need to move on. And so they can be them, and you can always visit whenever you want, but let them live their life to the fullest. And they go, oh, okay.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They go,
that would be
oh,
hard.
really?
I'd be that
Yeah,
kind of
I give
grandmother.
them
What do you mean?
I'm
Leave? No.
going to make you
terrible.
leave.
I know,
That
you
would be
leave.
Michelle.
Yeah.
No, you're going to leave.
Yeah.
This is my little prince. I don't think so. Meanwhile, by then the child would be like, older.
Right.
But so how do you handle, let's say, more either malevolent, maybe interdimensional entity?
Yeah.
Have you worked with extraterrestrial attachments, like people, abductees?
Have not yet.
Ooh,
I
okay,
have
'cause
not.
that would
Though
be a
I'm
big
not.
one.
The more I learn about this world, I'm like, I think that really does happen.
Yeah.
There's just so much information out there where I'm going, well, okay, well, if I believe in all this other stuff, I mean, why can't this be possible? I mean, the universe is so huge. It's like, for us to be the only planet is kind of silly to have life.
Well, some
But I
of them are
have
said to
not
be
worked
right
with
here
that
on this
before.
planet.
Yeah. Yes. So I have not worked with those, but
Yeah.
I have worked with some pretty malevolent ones,
Right.
where I've had to get really stern and really serious and really big.
Right.
And the thing is, I know the game,
Right.
and I know the rule is one soul, one body.
Right.
And I'm working on behalf of my client.
Right.
And you cannot dissuade me. And I have a lot of helpers helping me, and they will come in and do what they need to do. So this is not a discussion. But the other thing I do, and if they kind of get haughty, if you will, I will start off there. And if they don't back down, then I go, why do you feel you need to do this? And then I pull out my NLP and I go, why do you feel you need to do this? What's going on in your world that you have to have these bosses that, and a lot of times they're just given instructions.
Right.
And I go, well, I want to talk to your boss. And then I want to talk to your boss. I want to talk to the boss, and let's have a conversation. So because talking with the underlings who are afraid, I go, all right, well, great. Well, can I work on behalf of this entity? And let's break that contract, because anything can be rewritten.
Right.
And let's work on that, because my client, that's my number one priority. But two, if I can help them out, and I'll update their systems, and so often they'll go, wait, I don't have to be scared and working for these guys. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. You can go over here, and I have people, or beings to help you.
Yes.
And they go, oh my gosh. And so I'm freeing more than one being at a time.
And I think a lot of it is empowering the person, your client in this case. I don't think people realize how powerful they are and how much control they really do have over themselves and their environment and these other beings. It's like you're tapping and reminding them of that.
Yes, reminding them from long ago and far away. But yes, we are powerful. But as we're taught as a child not to be powerful, because as parents, we didn't get the rule book. And I know, my child's probably going to go in therapy. Let's be honest. No one's perfect, right? There's regardless, the translation, the perfect translation from the perfect parent to the perfect child, it's near impossible. So, but you do the best you can. And, I teach my girls energy work, and my little daughter's going like this, and she's making energy balls and all that. And
so cute.
if someone gets hurt, she puts her hands on, and eventually she might become a Reiki master, who knows?
Right.
But yeah, but it begins with those little small things, and to empower, like with the positive parenting, to empower kids that they are not victims of their feelings, that they are not their feelings, but they have feelings, you know, and that the feelings can be objective, they can be malleable, right? They can be changed, and that's just neurological work.
It's
You know, but
okay
you
to
start
be
off
mad,
little.
you know?
Yeah,
It's
definitely, it's
okay to
okay to
be
be
mad.
mad.
Yeah. I think parents
Agreed.
forget that. They're little people. They can be mad if they want. They can be sad. They can be
Yeah.
saucy. It's always good to not be too saucy, but you can still be saucy. I know mine was like that.
As a parent, you shouldn't be teasing them and laughing either to encourage certain bad behaviors that we're guilty of doing.
Yes, it's
So
true.
it works both ways, not
It's
just
true.
leave them with the bad
Because they're
behavior,
really
but
cute when they're
not
doing it, though. That does not
I
help,
know,
right?
but it's just
It's true.
it's not so cute when you're in a restaurant.
No.
That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
that's true.
Or
There
on
is
a
a time
plane.
and place for things.
Or on a plane. My child never cried on a plane. That's all I'm saying. So it's all about preparing them. It wasn't about fear. It's all about preparing them for this big adventure and, you know, getting them set up with their little earplanes. Those are those little things that you screw into your ear and it releases enough pressure so you don't have them screaming and, you know, freaking out, because
I'm
you don't
sure
want to
many
see your child in
passengers were
pain.
very grateful to you for that.
Absolutely. I was grateful too because my ears pop, but those things work wonders. If you guys want to sponsor us, you know how to find us. But airplanes, for those of you traveling right now with little ones, you can get them you can get them at drugstores. They look like little corkscrews and they have a hole on the other side, and it releases enough pressure so that your ears, there isn't any pain.
That's great.
Just saying.
That's great.
There we
Love
go.
it.
You get that one, Amelia.
Yes.
Melissa.
Melissa said they need to work through the emotions to be able to deal with them. If they can't as a child, how do we expect them to deal with them as an adult? Yes.
Very true.
Yes. Like husbands.
Like the man child, you mean?
I want to roll. Yeah, not necessarily my husband, but other people's husbands. Yeah. Get your husbands in check, lady.
Yeah, with that, then you have to go see somebody like Meredith, Melissa.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
Solves the problem. So
yeah, it is. You have to, I believe that you create confidence when you teach them that it's okay to feel that and it's okay to live through it and you're going to survive this. And then ask them, you know, how they feel and what did they learn from it is very important. I think it's important to speak to your children with the greatest amount of respect as well, and not dismiss their opinions. I think the biggest thing, the worst thing a parent can do when a child is reaching out to you because they're still learning manners and they're just pulling on your pants is turn around and say, "Don't tug on me." Instead, turn around, bend down on your knee and say, "What can I do for you? What do you need?" Acknowledge yourself that they don't have that ability. They're reaching out however they can, because what will happen is they'll stop asking for help and start internalizing. So, well, I know because my mother was dismissive with me. So that's how I know. I lived it, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
So do you find like just that? Do you have a lot of people like that come to you, and is it parental issues are dealing with the most, or what's the thing that people struggle with the absolute most? Because I think it's a cycle, like Amelia's talking about. If you get it, you know, from your parents, it gets passed down. It's just something that if you're not taught to break away from it in the first place, it would just keep on going, and you know, you just never would be able to retire. So,
yeah, it's a learned behavior.
Yes. I think I don't have anything predominantly sticking out, but it does often go to childhood, where the thing is, it doesn't have to be a big event. It could be a very small event that was just profound. Like,
Right.
we had learned in class about this one woman who thought that the bridge that she had to cross every day to go to work was so curved that the cars would fall off the side and into the ocean.
Oh.
And and the teacher talked about, well, he goes, well, do other bridges have the same curvature? No. He goes, it's amazing. It's this one that you have to travel every day. And as he unpacks the history, he learns that the father was like a bridge engineer, and he would be very judgmental in his little, offhanded comments about bridges and other people's works and so forth and so on. So to make her father right, she imagined that it was totally dangerous to cross the bridge every day. And it was just a very innocuous statement. So little kids will never make their parents wrong. We'll make ourselves wrong, and we'll do anything we can to manipulate anything within our control to make it okay to survive our childhood. Even if it's the best childhood in the world, we still make those choices and decisions, and about our childhood and our family. And so when we unpack it, so there's no one place where, everyone's like, I was abused this way, or this is this. It's all different. And it's all unique, and it's spread across the board.
This is also a place where racism is bred and grown.
Yes. Now, there's one thing I want to say about that, if I may, because I've been thinking a lot about that.
Of course.
Society moves slowly because if we think too outside of the box in which we were raised, we don't want to get ostracized from those who raised us. It's very difficult. Like, imagine just saying, okay, if I say, let's just say we're in the 1800s, okay, it was more prevalent then in those ways, that if you say blanket, nope, can't do this, can't have slavery, can't do this, and everyone goes, but this is our livelihood, this is what we were raised with, et cetera, then thinking that way will be very difficult, and they will go, great, move somewhere else, and you lose all your friends, all your family, everything. Nowadays, it's easier because, great, I'll get on a plane and I'll move to another city. I can start my life fairly easily, right? But I think societies move slowly because of the worry or the actual threat of what you would lose. And one of the questions in NLP is, what would you lose of value if you did have what you wanted? And that unpacks a lot of what our fears are.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. It comes back to the term sins of the father. It's just the sins of the father, right? It just gets passed down. And if you don't break that cycle, because I've known people, even in my life, who just have had their parental issues, and they just can't seem to break free of it, even through traditional counseling, obviously.
Right. That's why I'm here. Honestly, that's why I'm here, because this does work. I don't have statistics to answer the question previously. No, I don't have statistics, but I've never had a complaint from my client. They've always been going, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And when you can uncover all the stuck energies from childhood, family, and entities, or whatever else is there, past life, soul fragments, when you can heal yourself, and I'd like to actually, it's the first time I've asked this, rather than saying breaking the cycle, is just healing the past. And what Huna says is, when you heal yourself, you're healing 7 generations above and 7 generations below.
Wow.
Nice.
So when I say break
the cycle, I mean, like, I didn't spank where my mother hit and was verbally abusive. That didn't come into play in the raising of my children, my child. My husband doesn't count, right? But my child, I've been married 29 years. I can say that, but, yeah, like it wasn't something that there was no way I was going to communicate with her that way. I'm very, very thin skinned. I'm highly empathic. So anything that's said to me, I just, I cringe and I take it deeply personally. So that was a lot of healing. Well, you understand the healing is difficult. And even when you start to gain your confidence and you start to feel like, yeah, I am good at this, or I can do that, there's always that in the back saying, oh no,
I'm so far the other way, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just a hard ass. I am. It really takes a lot. No, but I mean, that works against you also, because you just don't let it go at all. It's just like, yeah, try it. I'll mess you up. Just, you mask it, I suppose, is probably the easiest way to say it. So it doesn't necessarily work to your advantage. It would just take a lot more to set me off.
Yeah.
know.
No, so, this, I mean, not angry, but sad.
Thin skin.
Sadness. Thin skin, not in the anger way, but in the, like, I'll end up in my room, like, bawling my freaking eyes out and not telling anybody about it.
I'm too stubborn.
It took a lot of years of therapy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
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 Being thick-skinned doesn't, like I say, it doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. My brother's like that, and I can see when something's hurting him because I know him.
Right.
But other people won't see it. They'll see him laughing and smiling, but I know that inside he's breaking apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. This I've never heard of Huna or NLP, so I was fascinated to see what it was all about, and I think to myself, where you've been all my life, because especially raising children. For me, that's a big one because they're the next generation. You are setting in place their foundation as to what types of adults that they're going to be. Right. And I know we have a lot of parents listening tonight, because I know there's quite a few of them in the chat room too. So,
Well, the thing is, it's never too late, really, I think, to be able to connect with your child. And some people say as parents, you should never apologize, but I don't know if I agree with that. If you screw up and you go, I think you shouldn't go like, this is why I did it, or I was angry and I was really frustrated and I was just in the heat of the moment. I want to let you know, this is what I wish I would have done. Mm-hmm. And I just wasn't present enough to be able to do that. And I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm going to try better next time, but just know that this is what I was hoping to accomplish and it didn't go quite according to plan, but I love you and I want you to feel safe with me. And I'm going to do the best I can to not break that trust or to keep that trust, right? We want to stay things in the positive. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, a beautiful way to bridge and keep connection. It's not about not screwing up as a parent. It's about how do you repair those things and how do you keep that line of communication open and keep it real. Mm-hmm. No one's perfect. No one has, the perfect emotions all day and everything else. And I mean, we're going to do the best we can, but sometimes at the end of the day, it's like, all right, I screwed up. I'm sorry,
Always
and
own
then
it.
You keep that connection. Yes.
Yeah, I love that advice. Agree with owning it. Being accountable, you're teaching your children so much by being accountable and apologizing. I think it's very important. My mom would buy gifts, not the way to do it. Anytime she hurt me, then there would be like all kinds of stuff. And with my daughter, I give myself a minute to catch my breath because she does not make me angry very often. I don't know. I want to be like her when I grow up. She's a Libra. She's just like so easygoing and things go off of her. But sometimes I worry about what she holds inside because she doesn't speak so much aloud. But I I really believe that it's important to apologize to them and let them know you're teaching them that their feelings are valid.
Yes.
You really are, and that no one should make them feel that way. So,
Agreed.
Michelle, your mic's not working. Well, Wayne Mallow says owning your mistakes in front of your children is a huge poised thing that you can give to your children. My son has always been able to come to me and talk to me about anything because of our communication. Yes. Absolutely.
Can you hear me
Really
now?
very,
Okay.
very,
Yeah.
very
Okay, good.
important. I'm going
There
to
we
do a
go.
quick
Yep.
station ID.
Yep.
You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano. Tonight's beautiful guest here is Meredith Herrenbruck, and we are airing live in the beautiful city of New Orleans on FM radio 105.3 FM, that is. We're streaming on YouTube, UFO Paranormal, International Public and UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials Radio, because Joe needs his names to be long. And as well, we are on all Facebook group pages, Canada's Most Haunted, of course, UFO United Public Radio, and of course our own The Outer Realm. A massive thank you to Folgers Coffee for being with us from the beginning. We would not have a show if it wasn't for you, Folgers. Thank you for being our sponsors. We hope to always do good by you and have a long relationship with you. Thank you for giving us the support and the sponsorship. A huge thanks to award-winning composer Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, for our fabulous intro and outro. You can purchase his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Find Justin on social media, Facebook and Instagram.
It's like, wow.
Well done.
It's written down.
I know.
You should have seen me when I tried winging it.
Oh my gosh.
It was like, it's
I
only been
know.
2 years, so I should have it
I
by
know.
now, right?
I
But
know.
sometimes you forget.
I know. Then they'll throw in the awards thing. Okay. So yeah, all right, here we go.
Oh
Mention the
yeah, I
awards.
didn't mention the awards
That's
because I don't
coming.
have it written down.
Not yet. Not yet. Do you find that going through, let's talk about the state of the world.
Okay.
We just come in off of a 2-year pandemic. That was pretty brutal, where we've got everything going on, you know, in Ukraine, for example. Do you find that you are busier with either attachments, or people are self-reflecting more, perhaps? And
I think people are self-reflecting more. I think they realize that the pressures that have been so intensified, that there's got to be a release valve, and hopefully we can do it in a productive way.
right.
I think there's a lot of reactivity, and it was like last summer where I said, you know, I've got to, for myself and not just the business, but I'm like, I have to help more people here. I have to get out there more because of the work that I have done. I'm less reactive because I'm more masterful in keeping my space and checking everything and checking my house and my property. And if I get into that reactive fear base, you know, okay, how do I snap out of it? What's my part in it? And I go down my little list.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am busier. There's more interest, which I'm happy for.
Mm-hmm.
And the solace I can offer people, I think, is, or the quick tool to start now is maybe turn off the TV for a while, for a few days, get off kind of that junkie, you know, being a junkie and newsline junkie, and start being present with yourself and those around you, and writing down what you're appreciative of, or doing a 5-minute walk or a meditation, just being present with yourself and going, well, what do I think? What do I find valuable? Because we're worried about what everybody else's importance is.
Right. Right.
But where's ours? And so we're giving them power. That's what I've been hearing from a colleague of mine, is that a lot of the interplanetary issues, the entity issues, is it's kind of like the Matrix. They want your energy.
Yes, it's food.
And even so, there are a lot of people who have sold their souls to the devil so they could get fame and fortune. They're gonna have some issues later on. But there are
Big
people
time.
who I see on TV where I look at their eyes, I go, got it.
Right.
There's more than one of you in there, and you can tell a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You can see, and when I'm in the same room as these people, I can tell.
Well, you can feel it. You can feel it
Absolutely.
as well. The energy is completely different. I think people need to realize that these entities, it is food for them. It's a lot harder for them to dwell in a positive environment than it is in a negative environment. Negative being anger or anxiety or fear, anything that would be deemed
Depression.
something that makes you feel maybe like you are not whole. Addictions,
Right.
anxiety, depression, grieving. Do you find you run into that with people who are grieving? Because you put a bullseye on your back by wanting so desperately to communicate with that person that you've lost.
Oh, well, I think there are two parts to that. There's one, there's the act of grieving, I think, is very important for the body to do.
Right.
In a true sense of it. There are those that can prey on it when you are not watching your back, when you're not aware of all that surrounds you. And I remember when I was actually in New Orleans many years ago, I was looking at Tulane, and my brother and I, we were walking through one of the cemeteries, and there were no people there. It was just my brother and I, but it was very busy.
Right.
And I could hear it, I can feel it, and they were having a party, and I was like, oh, this is not like the cemeteries up north, you know?
No.
The history is very different, but I swear it was just 1 decibel away from me actually hearing the conversation, it felt like. And so there are just a lot of people who are unaware of how to keep their space, how to check in with themselves and be strong and powerful. But the more you do that, either through martial arts or self-reflection or whatever it is, the more you can be strong in yourself, the less you need to give your power away to anybody else. You don't need to, and you just go. But then the cool flip side of that is the more powerful you are, well, the more attractive you are to people who just love having that energy around, right? And then the more you offer the world, and the less power others can have over others. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. And so I wish more people would find their true source, their power, their highest selves, clear out the history, and not file it away so you don't look at it again. Don't reject it. That's the worst thing you can do. But meet it, greet it, go through that process in a healing modality that works for you. But there is an end point, like you will move through it. And then to the other side, being cleaner and brighter and maybe taller, maybe more complete in a way. You'll feel different. But true grieving, I think, is a very important process. But just know that, check yourself once a day. Do I still feel like me? Do I have extra energies or feelings or thoughts that don't really seem like me? And if you do, get a clearing.
No, I agree. I think people so desperately look to get a sign from that loved one. They don't realize that there are things that wait, and they'll mimic that. They'll give you what you want. And it happens so subtly, like you don't even realize the attachment is actually occurring.
It is very true. A friend of mine in high school, actually, her brother had died when they were little, and he died, I think, maybe 2 years old. And she used, I don't know if it was a Ouija board, which I say absolutely not, but she had connected with what she thought was him. And then it followed her from one house to another and started causing physical problems for her. and until she finally cast it out on her own with her
Wow.
own volition, which was amazing. And
Mhm.
but she talked to the head of school where we were, and he was a teacher of world religions. And
Wow.
so he's like,
Mm.
don't mess. And he told her some stories of what his friends had experienced when they were younger. And there are a lot of tricksters. And that's where you have to really start understanding the subtle energies of
Mhm.
feeling, sensing, hearing that just feels a little off. Kind of like sometimes they feel like used car salesmen, and sometimes they feel like someone in the back alley,
Mhm.
and you just feel, oh, it's not feeling good.
Right.
And listen to your instincts, trust it. Takes a while to
Mhm.
trust it.
Mhm.
But
The
talking with loved ones is, I would always just do it maybe through an angel, or just send them a thought bubble, if you will. Just send them
Mhm.
energy,
Mhm.
and love. They get it. They get
Well,
that
they're not gonna do
information.
things to make you feel scared or uncomfortable either. It's always gonna come with
No.
love, and that's where I think, like, they're not gonna necessarily come through a Ouija board. They're going to basically leave you other ways of recognizing who they are, whether it's a smell, maybe, like smell of a flower or a perfume, or they're not gonna make you feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable or on edge. Right. And I think with
Right.
entities, they drain your energy. So you're gonna find, if they're not, they won't let you sleep typically. So you're really exhausted. There's
Right.
just little things to look for. But I think people get so wrapped up in grief that they just don't pay attention to these things. They just chalk it up as I'm grieving. Right.
Yes. Yes. And it's those subtle energies that just they take a while, but again, it takes a little bit of training. And there are very few people who train that out there, because there's a lot out there where you should be afraid of ghosts, and it's this huge, horrible,
Mhm.
scary thing.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Yes, there
Mm.
is some of that out there, but it's not.
Mm.
That, to me, from my experience, it's a very small portion
Mm-hmm.
of what it does. And even then, it's not like if you clear an entity from a home that the home is going to burn down all of a sudden. No,
No.
it's pretty subtle. It's very
Mhm.
subtle. But you
Mhm.
start off with, feeling the energy between your hands,
Mhm.
going into a room and feeling, eyes closed. Okay, what does my spouse feel like?
Mhm.
And not touching that person. Like, what does that energy feel like?
Mhm.
What does the energy of my child feel like? Could I identify them in a room with eyes closed and
Mhm.
where they're standing?
Right. That's a
And
good
then you
one.
start
Yeah.
to go, wow, well, notice people in the coffee line. What does that feel like?
Mhm.
And then it just takes practice and trusting your intuition.
Mhm.
I think those are very helpful ways to kind of start understanding the power that you have and all the senses that you have.
I like that. Yeah, just being able to recognize familiar energies with your eyes closed and seeing if you can
Yeah.
is actually really, really good, because you should know the energies of your family.
Yes.
Heck, I even know the energies of my pets. You
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So when they're around. You don't have to actually see them. So,
Yes.
because they just have large little personalities, but I think it's a really good exercise.
Yes.
So, as we're slowly coming up to the top of the hour, I want to make sure we cover everything that you want to cover. So, where do you want to go from here? So we have another probably 5-10 minutes, and then you're gonna get to tell everybody about your book and how to find you. So,
Let's see. Where do I want to go with this?
yes.
Well, Amelia, do you have a question or anything that you want to pose? I'm interested. I
Are
don't
you
want, I'm
reading?
putting you on the spot, but no, it's just like, I would love to hear a question that you
No,
have,
I was
if
thinking
you
of
have
someone.
anything.
I do actually. Thank you. I was thinking, as you were speaking and I was listening, I have a family member who I think would really benefit from your work and working with you
Mhm.
with self-esteem and going back. And it's not me. When I say a family member, I don't mean me, because my family's probably going, yeah, you need it. But I'm the peacemaker in the family. I really was wondering if you could, what I think a lot of people don't realize when you're in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of pain that allows you to bring out those emotions that you're required to use as an actor or as musical theater. And how, do you start with someone like that? Like, how can he contact you or begin? Yeah, I know he's not watching because he's in bed early, but.
Well, my website is livingyourawesome.com. That is, I think, probably the best place to start
Get him
off.
to start there.
Yeah.
We'll put it up on the Facebook page too.
Yeah. We've worked different ways through, I don't want to get too personal on air, but I just felt like your approach, your experience, I feel like is a good match for him.
Well,
and that's what I was thinking of when you said that.
Yes. Well, good. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Hold on here.
I think, gosh, I would love to work with Hollywood people because there's a whole lot of extra stuff going on in Hollywood as well. And the energies make me a little.
There we go.
I would love to do some clearings in that whole arena. I think it'd be really useful.
He lives here in Canada, but he's traveled the world, and he's, and I just feel like sometimes you can go the route of coach and therapist and psychotherapist and psychoanalyst, and it just, if it's not a fit, it doesn't matter how good they are at going to the root of things, because I've been there as well through therapy and through, when I say years of therapy, I mean years of different types of therapy before coming across a life coach was the best place for me. And my daughter, the same thing, life coach and her, they've been together for 3 years and she just loves him.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he wasn't a fit for this family member, and with you it was just bells ringing.
I'm just posting this on Facebook.
So I'd really love to get him to contact you
right now.
Yes, I would love it. I'd be honored.
It's my honor. Thank you.
Yes. So how it works is anyone can go to my website and just at the very least sign up for the newsletter just to get all my updates and podcasts that I'm on, like with you guys, and I'll often accompany it with a video and a how-to or something that I'm working on. And so I have the newsletter, and then people can sign up for a free consultation, or buy my book online, or go to Amazon for my book.
The book. He's an avid reader like I am. Yeah.
Okay, so you can do that, and I also have that on Kindle as well. And then if people want to do a free consult, it's 30 minutes, and then we kind of get into how these modalities and how I could possibly help if it's a good fit. And the sessions are like once a month for about 1.5 to 2 hours. So it's not like a super intense, we have to do everything in one day, but it helps neurologically the shift to happen. It takes like 3 to 4 weeks to integrate. So it's a beautiful, gentle process. And all of these modalities are extremely gentle. And if there's any tension or any stress, it's like, okay, then we shift such that the client can still feel safe and held. Because if they are not, then one, we can't do the work, but two, I'm not doing my job. My job is to hold space for that person and make sure that I can help facilitate healing in the best way I can.
Yeah. That's my opinion. I honestly feel like you're the fit for him. I think this is what he really, really needs. But I'm definitely going to call him tomorrow and tell him I don't do that often with our guests. It's just the more I listen to you, I wasn't daydreaming. The more I listened to you and I was hearing you, I could hear how much he could benefit from you. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you.
I love it.
I think this is going to work out really well for him.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is great. Hey, Cece. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Cece.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, your website is already up. It's in the stream and it's on the Facebook page. Cool. I had to go and put it in there separately because for some reason, StreamYard just won't do it for Facebook. So it's there now. And you have a book again. Where can people find your book? Is it your website? Is it Amazon?
Yes. Amazon and livingyourawesome.com. Becoming Ridiculously Awesome. Who doesn't want that?
Right.
I love that.
Exactly. And do you have anything coming up?
Let's see. I don't have another book written yet. It's still percolating, but I think it will be much more related to kind of how we find our spouse, relationships, and also then getting into the raising children, and not necessarily the positive parenting aspect of it, because I think there are many books that are geared for that. But what happens if maybe your child has nightmares, and it's from past life stuff, or that there's actually a ghost in the closet? And I've had 2 different clients where they were basically haunted. One was a very malevolent one that actually I didn't pick up on until I went in the middle of the night when I was here, and I just kind of remote viewed, and it came out in the middle of the night. And I was like, ooh, that's a different experience. So the book, I want to include how to deal with, how to not deal with children, but how to work with children and their needs that might not be an everyday doctor question, if you will. And how can we be present with them with our own triggers, and how to navigate that in more of a way to be present and connect with our children in the best ways possible.
Especially, making them feel safe. Hey, Michael, making them feel safe in a very obscure sort of way. Because there's a lot of parents who will just, said, there's no such thing, there's nothing there, go to bed, or they sort of belittle, there's no such thing as imaginary friends. Yes, there is. I'm looking right at one.
Yes, there are, and don't talk to them.
Don't talk to them. Please don't talk to them.
Exactly. But they make the child feel really silly for even saying it, and eventually the child withdraws, and then the problem gets bigger and well-rooted. So I think it's great. I think, if you definitely write the book, you just have to come back and we get to do this again and talk about it, because I think it would be fantastic.
It would be. Yes. So this is spurring me on to actually start. But in the next year, let's see how it goes. But that's definitely the next book I do want to write is how can we be better in relationships? What are the triggers? Why did you find just that right person that just sets all your alarm bells ringing, right? There's a phrase, what you survive, you recreate.
Right.
And so, so it's how do we navigate all those waters such that we can, not, 10 years later get divorced.
Right.
Yes.
The button pusher.
And get
button pusher.
Right.
Marry a button pusher.
Or say, wow, this person was great, but now 10 years later, they're an alcoholic, and my dad was an alcoholic, and I had no idea. And how did, and they're blaming the husband. But it's like, well, maybe how did you create this for yourself again? How did you create this?
Yeah.
So
all
those.
It's all different perceptions, and people, you never see that in yourself, but you'll see it in someone else.
Very true.
Right. I love it. I
hate button pushers.
Yeah, I know. We're going back to that man-child thing, aren't we?
I don't mind playing with them because I know how to push back, but it really hurts me to see a button pusher on someone who is timid. It'll drive me crazy to the point where I always have to step in, which I really shouldn't be, but I do.
Right.
It's two sides of the same coin, though. So please don't think
I know.
that they're actually they're consciously a victim, but subconsciously they're not. They're vibrating at that level that is pulling that person in. Because once they shift, the button pusher won't need to exist. They'll go somewhere else. And that's the hard thing, is when we feel in that victim state, we go, that person is terrible, they're doing this, and oh my gosh, and then, but over time through this work, and it might be a few months or a few years, then you'll get to a place of confidence, and you'll just vibrate differently, you'll feel differently, and you'll think differently. And when you do, those people won't come around anymore.
Right.
No.
They're only around because you are available for it.
Right.
No, but how do you help someone when you're seeing them constantly being what I call bullied instead of button pusher, where they just constant digs. I'm not one who could sit back. I'm one of those who has to swoop in and save your ass, right? Like, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to give that person exactly what they're giving you, but with full confidence and without fear of how it's going to make you feel, and so sometimes I try to stay out of it because I think certain people can learn from it and become stronger, but there's some people that are broken and you can't just sit back and watch that happen.
In the moment, of course, if there is like an actual altercation, of course, yes, and you're doing the right thing, step in, and maybe later speak with that person and go, so what would you like to be different, if anything? What would you like to experience that's maybe a little bit more enjoyable to you? Like neutral words. And they'll go, oh, I love this. Well, what stops you?
Right.
What stops you from having that? And maybe you want to look and ask that person, maybe you want to start looking there for yourself, because you're not going to be able to save that person all the time.
No.
And only they ultimately can get themselves out of it. They don't know they are powerful yet. But the good news, bad news of that situation is, good news is they're being a victim. That gives them a reward. And it might, to some people, sound really harsh if I say that. And I'm not meaning to.
Oh, some people don't mind being a victim. I know it's terrible.
They subconscious, some part of them, one small cell somewhere in their consciousness is getting a reward, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be there. We're smart people. We know how to move. If we're playing soccer, we know how to move away from the ball. So then how are we not able to get out of the way or spot that person, go, yep, I'm out of here, or say something such that altercation doesn't happen? So there are no victims.
Okay.
Ever.
Maybe that goes back to childhood of being that person who was treated that way, bullied by a parent. Yeah.
I know. Yes. And you're doing a beautiful job protecting yourself again and protecting that person who needs to be protected.
No, they need to be protected. Yeah.
In the short term, if this person is an adult, they need to ultimately take care of themselves. And if they keep not wanting to, then you have to let them do it until they've had enough and are looking for those solutions.
It goes back to the old adage. You can't help someone who won't help themselves.
It's so
you can
hard
only do
to
so
watch.
much. It is hard to watch.
Water, but you can't.
It's hard to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is for sure. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Unfortunately, we're there already. It just like sped by. So I have to tell you, this was really awesome. I love it when we're students and learning something for the first time. It's just, oh, look, I have to say, I've spent more time blocking these naughty girls than I have anything else tonight. And this hasn't happened in months. So I do have to apologize for that, but my gosh. But thank you so much for joining us. It was a real pleasure having you on. And I'm really hoping that we can do it again sometime.
I would love it. And thank you both. It was a pleasure.
No, thank you. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Refreshing. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And have a good evening.
All right. You too. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, that was awesome. My gosh, already done and over. I can't get over the fact that it just sped by so quickly, but we have come to the end of another amazing segment here on the Outer Realm. Huge thank you to Meredith Herrenbruck. She's just awesome. And I hope some of you guys will take advantage of this. It's just a lot to think about. And boy, it's a whole other perspective. And I know it sure left me thinking a few things myself. So thank you for that, Meredith. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee again for being, our sponsor for 2+ years, backbone of the show. Thank you. And Justice Snicker for your contribution of your voice and your music. Please remember, anyone wanting to make contact with us, it has to be the outer realm contact at gmail.com. Again, the outer realm contact at gmail.com. Takes me a bit of time. I do my best, but I'll get you a lot sooner than I would if it was on social media. Next week brings a whole other show, Wednesday and Thursday, with 2 guests who have never been on before. Wednesday night, for the very first time, is Deborah Lynn Katz. She is the author of You Are Psychic, Extraordinary Psychic, and Freeing the Genie Within. Sounds almost like, wow, I know. So that's going to be a lot of fun, without a doubt. Thursday evening is going to be a little bit out there, even for us, but we're going to do it. Yes, we are. It is. For the very first time ever, maybe not on YouTube, I still have to research that, Penny Shepherd will be joining us, and she's going to be discussing her life in MK Ultra.
Google it if you don't get it. You're not going to want to miss it.
Satanic Hollywood, and so much more. So these are going to be really sensitive. So maybe not for everyone, but it's just all of a sudden I'm seeing it everywhere. And it's like, okay, this definitely has to be a thing.
It's all over YouTube right now.
Okay, so then we'll feel safe in saying that maybe it can be on YouTube. But also don't forget, Joe Montaldo and I will be doing another segment of the Gray Zone Uncensored. It's going to be awesome, as always. And then there's going to be a couple of weeks off, guys. So Joe's going to be in LA, so you're only going to be able to catch it this week, and then it's going to be off for a couple of weeks. So I do apologize, but it's the way it has to be.
Well, unless you live in LA, then we can tell you where he's staying and you can go bug him.
There we go. There's always something right there, isn't there?
Yes, we can tell you where he is. We can tell you where he is.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Well, anyway, guys, behave yourselves. We shall see you next week for another great lineup of guests. Good night.